Unrecorded, should you just move over to the side so you're not in the back of the camera?
Is it video camera?
Susan just recorded.
Is it recording or?
Yeah, both.
No. You got it. I don't know if it's that. It's just I can't sit on it. I need to get it. Over here instead. Sure.
I would like that way from that one to see. Records.
Council.
How many, so we start?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it is halfway. Like I said, it's not a regulation. It's, I feel maybe the other day we can do that.
Yeah, you know,
Sorry,
Okay. So why don't we go on and start? So we said Javier's not going to be here, and I'm not heard from Joy. So, so those had a bunch of things, so I just put them as the agenda.
Yeah.
So is there anything specific about maintenance that you
Well,
want?
no, I just thought we ought to just, whether it's, and I've been working with Javier and head channel, like some issues, but I mean. I know, Kevin, you had, when this year you did a lot of this and have a. You know, you see the town a lot, so if there's things that you, I mean, somebody mentioned the other day that they're not taking care of Main Street as much as Valley Street, you know, up out your way, the doctor's office and stuff like that, you know. And he didn't even know that was part of the town for a while, so that part, but I think it's really good, and what I heard recently, we will have a street sweeper coming out. In June, so that'll be good, and I think we need to, the town needs to plan that out a little bit, make sure that cars are. Where did that come from? Jam talked to some, right? Jam talked to somebody up there about getting it. Of course, Eddie didn't want that for a while. But they have one in Albemarle, and they said, oh, we can't bring it down here, but somehow he knew somebody or whatever. I don't know exactly.
I think a lot of people are asking,
Yeah.
the bottom line is, Greg and Javier had a meeting with the guy, which finalized. So we had a lot of people kind of pushing for that, and get finalized. And Greg and Jan already have a plan to put up signs so people aren't parking, so that the road is clear, so you get the bank road.
Yeah, I'd like to know which roads they're gonna do and recommend.
Greg hasn't one.
Okay, great. But anyway, that's cool.
So it's interesting that young June, that coming up affordable,
I
because
wish it was after June.
I was gonna say that I know the guy who operates it, and he was under the assumption that they had asked before.
Yeah, well, we've been asking for a year.
No. They had offered before and were told that it was not wanted. And
Wow,
that
I never
was,
heard that.
yeah, but I don't know how the truth to it or not, but this was a guy that operates it. And he was like, yeah, talked about it, but he was told that I don't know if it was Matt Lawless or who had indicated that it wasn't. So, I was surprised, but I was going to bring it.
They came through last week.
They did?
Yeah, one day
I
they came
didn't know
through, they did it.
see, so, no, Albemarle County has one. This may be VDOT's. But Matt Lawless, didn't know anything about that one when we'd asked before, but Albemarle County has one. And the guy who drives it indicated to me that what he had heard through their folks were that they did not even want it down here. And I guess my question was, that's where I was gonna go with it, was I'm sure that we could get something if we can, and
At least one.
and one of the things that, you'll notice, you brought up, Main Street. When Jan started, he swept that whole side over there and took the stuff. If you go back down there, you will see that there is another layer of debris and sediment and, you know, and there's grass growing in that stuff. So, you know, that's one of the things that we talked about was that's not something, you know, because of the drainage that is not correct right there, that's something that you know, needs to be addressed. I still get it in front of my, I mean, it comes across the street and runs right down my side of the street and then right down the alley in a torrential current.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I don't know if there's anything that can be done, but I guess at a minimum, I think that, you know, we probably should get the, street sweeper if we have access to it.
Is there, that would be, well, for the street itself, that would be VDOT. Because that's part of, 6. So that would be VDOT that would be responsible for anything that, if there is any type of remanage or anything.
We had a weird situation where VDOT approaches the county and says, we have X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do? And the county says, nothing goes into Scottsville because Scottsville is a town, it's not the county. So this is something we've been addressing for a while, trying to get it changed, which is what Eddie started up with. We have to talk to VDOT. And, you know, VDOT paving, Irish Road was the first time we really been down here in a very long time, but that was because of the market. It wasn't because of any of the complaining. You know, we've been complaining about that drainage problem down on Route 6 and 20 forever. 2 people died because of it. And they still said it's not an issue. It's fixed now, but you know, there's another that the market. But we just have to continue to put pressure on to do that. And the other thing we're finding out is that it might be something as simple as we need a MOU with VDOT. Just like Almar County, we were talking to them about zoning, and they were saying, well, it's not a jurisdiction, you can't help it. But we have an MOU, and we can. Just like the police department, it's not a jurisdiction, you can't help it if you have an MOU, you can. So it might be something as simple as we just did an MOU with VDOT and no one's contacted. So those are things that need to get on town council's, you know, agenda to get fixed.
So MOU with VDOT?
I would imagine if VDOT's saying, I can't do anything in your town, I'm only allowed to go to Almar County. Right, where this is exactly what Almar County was saying to us about zoning, I can't do anything in your town. But if we do an MOU, then we can, so. It seems like we just have to get a certain piece of paper in place, have the attorney straighten this shit out, so maybe we can get something going.
So that would be action would be to bring it to town council.
Yeah. And to have council, if they feel that's important, then council has to instruct the attorneys to straighten that out. Just like the council should be straightening out our zoning. Zoning has asked from the MOU, we just haven't moved on it. They're more than willing to help us with the development down here. And after our meeting, there was at least a dozen problems with what they were gonna approve. Now they're not gonna approve it, but without an MOU, they can't overstep their bounds. And so they've asked us for one, we just haven't moved on it, which is ridiculous.
So town council needs or zoning.
And also put them down.
What was the, you know, from that, getting back to the maintenance side, was there anything?
Yeah.
I mean, Jan had indicated, I mean, I know he had sort of indicated when he came, he's like, I'm sort of overwhelmed right now, and try to get a grasp on everything, and try to get a plan involved, but I didn't know. I mean, one of the things that I know that he was hesitant on up front was sort of the using of the, spray, and I think like that may have changed a little bit. I know that like the spots in the, where the boats are down there, that stuff is looking, I mean, it looks actually good.
Well, so
It's
you did it.
not grass anymore, you can see the, I mean, it looks, he's doing a good job,
Yeah.
slowly getting it, and I just didn't know, I mean, like when I was walking down here, coming from the mailbox, I mean, I noticed going up the street there's a lot of grass, and it's just me, I'm just picking
No,
up
I looked at
all the grass that is there, and I know that, you know, the idea of pulling the weeds, he cleaned it up in front of, Montessori school, right in front of the
Yes.
whole side of the neighborhood, they noticed it, but then it's been
Yeah.
2 months since it's been there and.
And same on-
it's probably.
Same on Birch Street, you know, it's hard to keep up with those weeds.
Well,
Right.
there's two ideologies. The problem is you spread it. Now you got a bunch of dead stuff, which doesn't look good either. And when you pull dead stuff, it just breaks. So it's a lot easier to pull something alive than it is dead. Jam has said systematically, I attack this, but I still gotta maintain certain things, and I attack this, certain things. So from Main Street, the problem, the reason he stopped working in the streets was that it was actually came through Greg. Greg was saying, you know, it's really weird, but my guys aren't allowed to go out in the street unless they have a
Really?
whatever vest on, and they have to have cones, and they have to, whatever. So I said, oh, well, let's talk to Javier and find out if our insurance requires that. Sure enough, our insurance does. We didn't know it. So insurance said he can't go on the street until he takes his faults, and he can't go on the street until he's got his vest, which he does now.
Yeah.
But that delayed him like 3 weeks, and then the grass came in.
Yeah.
So that's what stopped him kind of at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
But he is aware that he still has to continue.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at like right across the street from, a little bit across, diagonally across from East Main, you know, there's like that much dirty grass that moved into the street. He understands he has to uncover the street.
Right.
Because the street sweeper isn't gonna clean that up either.
Right.
It's just not. It's
Well,
not
that's,
my fault.
that was, they did that, yeah, you just gotta go back and forth and that's the part where that continual, you know, my idea was sort of like so much maintenance, you know, go do it before it accumulates and get a grad.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you notice after that heavy rain, there was accumulation of dirt and sand in front of like the brewery and a few other, like big piles. And he went and he just straightened them up and moved them out of the way. He didn't clean the whole thing.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get Jim to do is say, a leaf blower is a good thing. He doesn't seem to like a leaf blower.
Right.
You know, because he said it just blows it all over the place. My point is you need to move it. Don't let it build up and now it's a project. But he's doing one thing at a time, but he is staying on top of everything. It's just, that's a major project and doesn't have back to it.
So he has to have his vest on, does he have to put cones out on the street?
When he's like, if he's painting, like.
No,
why?
he's staying in the street.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he needs cones. He just has to have that vest.
So it's just a yellow buzz.
Yeah,
That's,
and he's got certain boots he's required to have, or he's cutting the grass and stuff, and, you know, which they're doing, you know,
required, or required probably steel.
right. But there's it's a certain type, not only just steel tip, it's a certain type. The town is in the process of buying him, and he already has it there. But the town finally is there, then, just like it's already belong with the actually, he's already taking the class. But that's what kind of slowed it down.
Yeah.
When it was like peeking out from your place.
Yeah.
That's when you stopped.
Yeah.
Because he was told.
You can't do it.
And Greg's point was if you got hurt, not only does insurance not cover pension.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the requirements.
Yeah.
So that's something you found out just from Greg, wanted to find out, as we did it.
And, you know, to be clear, I think we're a whole lot different from where we were. So I don't want, I'm not trying to be, you know, I'm just trying to say that, you know, one of the things that, you know, my thing has always been, you know, as many people, you want it to look as good as it possibly can. And, when we're looking at trying to make sure that we're getting the most taxes we can from people stopping in town or spending their money in town or stuff, all of that stuff comes back to, Jan being the best that he can be and all that. And so that's where I'm going. And I'm not trying to, sometimes I'm impatient, on stuff, but it's not, I appreciate all that you're trying all of this.
Yeah, it's honest.
He's got it.
He's got it. It's just, it would probably take a year for us to get all the major shit out of the way. Like when he cleaned up the park over here, right? That was a big step. And he still, there's things like getting into the bushes and pulling stuff out. He hasn't gotten there. But he's got it all cleaned up. Now he knows it. Now he has to fix the trash. Now he's been keeping the grass away from the gravel pathways because shit grows up.
Yeah.
He's been hand weeding when he finds stuff. You'll see him if he's walking by the street, you see something, which is full.
Right.
Can't do it all the time, because I've seen him do it over and over.
I see it. I see
Yeah,
it.
so
No,
he
he's a
gets it.
Like you were saying, he's a presence and it looks managed, family's managed.
Yeah, well, and the thing too is part of the issue is he's out there and people like to stop and talk to him for 20 minutes. And he's getting a little frustrated with, how do I handle that without being rude, but I've got stuff to do. And so I told him was, and I don't know if the town will do it, but it would make more sense if he had a business card. No, with his, cell phone or an email.
Told me about it.
Every morning he checks his emails. Every morning he has correspondence with the county and different things. Every morning he's on the computer at least a half hour minimum of doing the maintenance correspondence. He would rather get an email saying, there's a tree down on whatever, send me the picture, than to chit chat with someone for a half hour.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right?
I see.
And that's what he's hoping to get. But if we can get him a business card, it sounds corny, but we give him a business card, a town thing, with an email, blah, blah, blah. And even if the back is blank, so people will write things down and hand to him, whatever it is.
Right.
He's getting a little frustrated with, I think it's great, I don't mind talking to people, but I really got a lot of stuff to do and they don't have that much time to do it. You know, and he said, especially on things like Good Friday, where he's trying to get everything ready, and he knows it's a farmer's market, and he knows the trash needs to be empty now, and blah, blah, blah. So
He said that from day one. I recall, he was like, people were coming up to him and, I had a conversation with him well after we had talked about it, but I talked to him for about 20-30 minutes on something, but, it was a good conversation, but he was, we talked about it, he's trying to.
That's another thing for the town council to suggest to do.
I think it's actually just Javier. Javier is his supervisor. It's something Javier can do.
You know, cards, you can get 500 of them for
$30.
I was gonna say $25.
Yeah.
Cheap.
And that's why you can just hand it out and then walk away, because he does he has a town email and he has a town phone. It's not his phone, he's not giving out his
You know, I
money.
noticed that when I went through the budget, I could see as a phone, as the budget line for it.
Yeah.
I need to get that.
So that would be good for people to not go around.
Right, and this way you can just schedule it in and it doesn't have to be smart.
Yeah.
And we might cut back a little bit on the conversation.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Well, anything else on the maintenance in general, he's, more, I think.
He's got enough projects.
Yeah, he's got enough.
You know, he's already in the park, he's already been mowing in the
I
park.
know. That's a
You
nice-
know, so he's systematically picking things up. He's
Yeah.
adding to his daily routine,
Yeah.
but also to noticing his projects he's gonna get back to. He is.
And he's picking up trash now too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was done by Barnett.
Well, now it's gonna be going.
I think that you're actually seeing more people.
With that is, yeah, that's great.
Stop,
Yeah,
stop by
that's
and-
great.
And sort of.
Yeah,
look
we
at
had-
it and then I also know that now Basin Square is used, that's where the boat, the guy that does the boat thing. He's even listening right there at the pylon where the thing is in the evenings and, and again, they're doing their thing, and, that's part of it. He's private enterprise. It sure is nice if people want to walk through the little park and see some of it before and he's using it as a thing versus he had a key to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That nobody else used it, except for them.
And which group is that?
What's the gentleman's name? There's two guys that have
They're both Wills.
the
Will,
will.
and they have the backhoe,
Oh, okay.
whatever, tours.
Do you know that there's that two?
Yeah, you know that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that once.
On, up, just went up and down the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they do that every.
Yeah, they did that twice a day, or they will do it twice a day.
I've never done.
One, what they say is twilight, and one in the afternoon, or late morning.
Which, again, as far as a town, I think we should
And
be supporting this.
they do meet down in the, back to, park,
Well, part of that is everyone needs to go to the bathroom before they get out that boat. There's no commode, so that's part of it. He's always looking for a place. So
It's a great spot.
It is.
To do it.
And it brings people down there, and it's a business that's bringing in some income and
Yeah.
stuff.
And they have people that utilize it. He is booked, you know.
Yeah, well, when the river was too high, they canceled all this stuff, but yeah, he's booked out.
There's gonna be renovation.
which is a good business in town. Okay, anything on the budget? I sent the budget out, went through it, and I thought it was pretty tight. There really wasn't a lot there that you could finagle.
The only thing I'd like to get rid of, I mean, it's my own thing, is giving this money to the nonprofits and also figure out a way to do that in a fair, one partial way, but you know, you know, there's a lot of nonprofits in this town, but they're not benefiting from this. It's, you know, I don't think Boys and Girls Club, they're great, but I don't think they should be automatically getting $3,000 or $5,000 every year from the town. Anyway, that's that. I just think it's something beyond our means to come up with something. I did this Boys and Girls Club and I kind of checked it and we shared it with the town, but you know, they have fundraisers all over the place and that, you know, that none of them, they don't get money from public. They get it from, I mean, they got a huge donation stream, you know. But anyway, I like there's a lot of, like the museum, you know, or the PTO or the Sox or the baseball. I really like the baseball. There's just a lot of nonprofits that I don't feel like I sent them out. Some of these, I think it would be good to come up with a system. That's why I put that on it to like, who would benefit if we did this? I tell you the truth, I just think
The town's just not.
I just think we ought to get rid of it. That's $3,000. $3,000. We could do a lot with $3,000. Anyway, but anyway, that's an issue for the town. I just thought I'd share it.
I don't know, do you think that we should come up with some criteria to let the town council work on?
That's what I thought. Because I think there ought to be something like, you know, like local organizations, you know, need maybe, you know, benefit to the community, benefit to the people in the community. There's not many people.
They all do good things.
Right, but some do more directly for our town than.
The big problem we have is almost everything that goes on in the town involves a lot more people than the people that live in town.
Exactly.
There's actually almost nothing that is just purely related to the town. It's related to the greater Scottsville area. And if you were to say it has to be primarily focused on people who live in Scottsville, you cross it out, there's nothing here.
Yeah, what the museum? Well,
No,
I guess you're right.
that's tourists and the people that the doses there are from all over the county, or the southern county,
And even the library.
and the library.
I think before you try to get into the criteria and all this kind of stuff, I think the debate is whether or not council really thinks it's a wise thing to hand out a very little amount to the same people all the time. When our budget is so tight, should we really be handing out money? And I don't think the town is there for that purpose. When we're so tight, I don't think that's our purpose. And if you want to do that, then fine, you give it to the Boys and Girls Club, and you have to give it to someone else, and you have to give it to someone else, you have to give it to someone else. I just don't think, I don't think the town has the money to be doing it. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's our role. But I'm not council.
Yeah.
It's council's decision.
I think it's council's decision.
It is council's decision.
It would be
And
nice.
that's my point. We tend to get into trying to do criteria, and council wants to give money away, well, there's nothing we can do about it.
You know, that's the other issues. You know, is there a way we can solicit money for the town? You know, say we need something in the town, or solicit money for an organization that doesn't have money. Like somebody chose soccer league needs money, you know, and, you know, we could put it on a website, or we could, you know, put a notice of, you know, how we can help those organizations.
Stocks needs money.
Yeah.
Stocks doesn't.
It needs people to know.
No, it needs people to volunteer, so I mean,
We need money.
we're talking the right people. I mean, I've talked to Chris, she's been doing a lot of it for the last 8 years probably. So the thing that we talked about was,
Well, the baseball was funny, but they spent a lot of money.
It's more volunteer. I mean, they need help. So one of the things that I brought up before, which is not the topic of this, but it would be great to sort of maybe lead to that is one of the things that you see in small towns is they sometimes will have a recreational department. Again, and I'm not for adding more jobs and stuff like this, but what I can tell you is like the socks. The socks, it requires a lot of time of somebody. And it's like with the baseball, they have a lot. So like Mr. Grisham down in Cove Creek, he went in and built all that stuff and then he funded all that stuff. And he has a really well-run organization. And I'm not trying to say we're trying to be Cove Creek. What I'm trying to say is some of the stuff does correlate over. In fact, there's a baseball league, there's a soccer league, there's other things that if there was help that was given, that would be sort of the stuff to sort of supplement them, and that's for another discussion, but I do think that it would be a benefit to some of the stuff to utilize some, you know, to have if you ever had somebody that was a good person and we were ever in a position where we had money or could do something as a town to benefit a lot of these different organizations, but it would have to be tight, it would have to be run tight and wouldn't be for everybody.
So, you know, well, me, I watched baseball particularly, and I know they have a lot of volunteers, but I'm thinking, not only are they spending time, but they're spending lots of money with gas equipment, you know, they're mowing and doing all this stuff and they're grading the fields. I mean, that's gotta come out of somewhere, you know. I mean, maybe they're doing, you know, they're using their own tractors and their own diesel fuel or whatever, but it seems like that would be beneficial for us. And they bring a lot of people to town, that baseball.
I mean, I think it's a risk group, not risk reward, but you're not gonna get that much from, I mean, people don't come in and eat, but if you probably run the numbers on that, it's not gonna be that much money coming into people or a sales tax thing. I'm just saying that those organizations are not, are just like the people don't volunteer technically like they used to, and the cost of them. So where, you know, where the swimming pool used to be like $7 or $8 for lifeguards. Now we're 20, 15 or something like that. I mean, it's a significant increase in what, you know, people are being paid, so that everything is increasing, just like, you know, budget's tight here. It's tight with all these little organizations and stuff. Christy was saying that the trophies had doubled that they get the little trophies, and the t-shirts had tripled as far as since she started being involved with it, and the registration fees really hadn't gone up, you know, so another story. But what I'm saying is those are things that if there was ever something that I think would be a benefit to something, and again, it's a position of personnel and I'm not advocating it, but I'm just saying that would be things that have to be.
Now, there's some kids who parents can't afford to be part of things, but they don't have the money for the fees and stuff like that.
Yes, I think that's it. Those they're very low, that are very low, that are being right now, and it's low enough to.
Most people.
It's more of.
Right, well, that's good to know.
They're doing multiple things and they're multiple sports. Everybody's been pulled in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Both parents are now working. It used to be one, and they're staying home. It's not happening. Yeah. And people don't volunteer, but enough.
But you're right. I've heard the basketball quote. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, because Gene
Volunteers or does it?
was doing that for years and some of the earners and stuff, but
So it wasn't financial at all.
it's, you just gotta have coaches, you gotta have volunteer coaches for all this stuff. There's a lot of time dedication.
No, I did that.
One night, I mean, you did soccer, I mean, you coach, you know, practice one night a week and then you practice off. I mean, you play a game on a week and you do it for 12 to 15 weeks or something like that. And then you go to soccer and you can practice and, you know, it's, you know, but again, we're not gonna solve that problem.
Yeah, and the volunteers and not everyone. Okay, well, that's good information. Anyway, so what, we're not gonna recommend anything. I'll just bring up my recommendation. So let's pull that from the budget. I don't know. You know, people feel good, you know, it's like a symbol, like, okay, we're giving to this, or it's, you know, it's a feel good thing, but I don't think it's I don't know. There's a lot of feel good organizations out there.
You had review of spending procedures.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean, main thing I was thinking about with the whole budget process was really a mess. I mean, it was not organized and it was delayed and the spending procedure, it seemed like we couldn't spend anything until this month. And we're still trying to spend, we haven't spent anything like, you know, it's like, it's in the budget. For some reason, I think there's approval for anything over $500. Finally, gonna do that, but it seems like we should be spending all year long. If we're doing Canal Basis Square, we're doing, you know, Van Fleet Nature, and we haven't spent anything on the farmers market. In the, it just seems like there's hesitancy to spend money. And I think there is some requirement about you gotta get approval for anything over a certain amount, but you know, it seems like that should be all year round. That's fine.
Well, I did have you sit down with that handbook on administration, town county administration. I actually read most of the chapter 9.
Really? That's why I read that.
And to me, the one thing that I found interesting in there is that the federal government has had an idea that at the end of a budget year, if you don't spend it, you lose it. But the town can actually take that money and roll it over to the next year. And that to me is probably the biggest statement in there.
And for whatever reason, for the last 4 weeks, council has been functioning and staff has been functioning under a whole different idea.
It's like a pressure. We gotta spend it.
And they won't listen and they won't amend the budget. And it's ridiculous.
So
It's ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, we don't have a lot of experience with the budgeting process.
Oh, but what's that point, you know, if you just read that one handbook that was
Okay,
floated out by staff.
yeah,
If you just read that, it clearly states we don't have a spending.
okay.
You know, it may be a little awkward for their audit, it may be something they have to make notes on, it may be something they have to vote on. There's procedures for that, but you do not just spend money to get rid of it. And that's, in my opinion, what I feel over.
See, that was communicated, you gotta spend this money, it's in the budget, you gotta spend it.
I know, and I argued with them, and they argued back, but I'm saying, that's not true.
Oh,
And that handbook is pointing that out.
Yeah. So we can amend it, we can amend it.
It's like you're banging your head against the wall, that's what I feel like.
so that was the big thing. There was another chapter, he said chapter, I think 9. There was another chapter there, 10 or it was,
Did you read it?
which is interesting in that list all the type of for revenue. I looked through that long list and there's not really anything.
It's not really, that's it.
It's, to me, I think it was interesting in that the town council members should read through that list because it will tell you what some of those things are. Because there's a number of lines on the budget about income that I never knew what they were, and they're explained in that long list. So you can look through that list and read it. I think it's something worth doing, but
Focus on the things where you can get revenue.
There's something in it that we needed a sign or some sort of, you know, can the town just go ahead and say, like, we like to get donations for the sign or for this improvement of the building or farmers market, for example.
Town can't do that. The town has to set up a foundation with
You
a
would have to do that.
nonprofit that would be specific for that. And so when you get into, like, if you went into a town and you saw this big thermostat and they've got it and they're raising it for the fire department. Town's not doing that. They have a foundation that supports the fire department. You can have a foundation for the town, you just don't have one. But no, you can't do that.
Because I think we really need to, I don't know how much it costs, but we really need to work on that farmers market. I mean, there's all kinds of upkeep on that. It's need to be fixed, and I might bring that up.
But the first step is
A plan.
finding out what needs to be done, getting quotes to find out what really needs to be done. And then you move forward. You don't move forward with how do we get money and then try to figure out what to spend it on. You move forward with what does it take to do what you want?
Right.
You build a budget, you build a plan, you build it. And so that's the procedure that needs to happen. So we don't need to do all this stuff. We need to start getting quotes. We need to identify what can and can't be fixed, and we need to get realistic quotes in as to what that'll take.
Yeah.
It also, the other thing it brought up was that you need a capital improvement plan,
Right.
and it should be for 5 years.
Right.
So give you a 5-year
You
license.
have to do something.
We did that.
You never went, oh, that's all.
Never went to town council. Town council is supposed to review that as part of their budget process.
I'll ask that we do that.
So that and then the current year, if you take the capital improvement plan, the current year should be mirrored into the current budget.
Right.
And then, but you look at what you're gonna project need over a total of 5 years. And then, it didn't sound how to do it, but it said what, and so using the spreadsheet that I put together would be considered, you can keep that as an example of a capital improvement plan with the money there, and then there was a page which had each event and where the estimated cost was. So it's, it would fit the requirement, but the town council has to review it and put it as part of their budget process.
Yeah, well, that was part of what we now with the budget process, because, we did the budget process, but it was like, we were all over the place, but, we're talking about revenue. I think that ought to be organized. Maybe start talking about like, hey, let's just talk about revenue at this meeting a little bit. Okay, and this one, let's just talk about police. This one, let's just talk about administration. And then this one, let's just talk about, so it's spread out. We were doing it, and we were trying to do some special sessions, and people weren't showing up, and it was hard to figure out how to get 7 people to agree on something. You can't agree on anything in a work session. And so it was just there must be a process for budgets, how to do a budget that's less contentious or less.
If you read that chapter, it's clearly indicates that there should be either the town administrator or the finance director.
Because that
They normally, what the comment was, they normally would ask for budget recommendations from the head of their departments.
Yeah.
So that would be the chief. Javier would take care of administration, and he'd go, and ask any special maintenance issues over the next year. And he takes those, plus what they're spending, he has administration has the salaries and all that other stuff. He comes up with a budget. And that the town council then gets that budget, and they should review it. And then the capital improvement plan should be separate part of the budget. And then the town council should then go through and say, we would like to have this added on or removed.
Yeah. And how do you do that? You gotta do that at a regular session. Say like this one coming up, they're gonna approve it. We could ask that this be added or approved, but it's kind of late now to do that.
It's late, but so you have to have it done by July 1st.
Yeah.
So it's late. So, you need to start it early enough to know that.
Right.
Part of the problem,
The time schedule.
you need a time schedule. And the other thing is that, what makes it late is the, problem is that the state, the 2-year budget, when the budget's late, doesn't give you a lot of time for any money that will come from the state.
Yeah, but
Now this isn't as bad for us, because the big one that is worried about that is the school budgets. And the school budget in Delaware County. So that makes the school budget can't be finalized until the state decides their budget. Then the school budget can't be submitted or finalizing the county budget until that, so that makes it really late.
In this last budget process, there were at least 2 or 3 things that were unclear, or not clear, but controversial. One was to have both of them were about positions. Some people wanted a position for grant writer. We would pay a grant writer $10,000 when we open grants. And then there was another proposition to have a new position, an administrative assistant who would do minutes and would do the website and do this and do that. And, you know, it was kind of like last minute, and, you know, maybe they need some assistance, just like I thought maybe Jan needed another person to help during the summer a little bit, you know, but getting positions and doing like that, that's how do you, you know, some people are for that, some people are against that. I just,
So unfortunately, the process,
that's a process, it's really hard to
the
figure out.
process is fine, unfortunately, it was delayed. And so everything was last minute, which is what you're saying.
You know,
Well, the
Yeah,
thing is,
but it's, everything was fine, it just unfortunately, we recommended months ago, we sat down. And Javier was here and said, you know, you need to get this by this date. So that you can set up a public hearing by this date, so that you can get it down. We did that in government services months ago.
yeah,
It just wasn't followed. Just like we still don't know what our last year's numbers were. We're
Right.
building the
that was a
budget
big problem.
based on a budget, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just the way this year flushed out. It's not because
Yeah, we never.
it's not because the procedure doesn't work. It's just whatever was going on isn't working.
and the budget that Javier sent down did not have the actual numbers
Right.
for 23.
That's what I'm saying. So how do you build a budget if you don't know what you're saying?
And
We don't know what our surplus is.
you don't really know what you spent, what your
Right.
surplus was.
Right. And unfortunately, you have a deadline, the town has a deadline, and we have to move forward with what we have. Hopefully, we don't have the definition of insanity and do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Hopefully, next year will be better, but unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yeah.
You know, it's done.
Yeah, well,
So there's nothing-
Relax.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Unfortunate, I don't think it's a great idea, maybe someone needs to be reviewed for it or whatever, but
well,
we know what the problems are.
It's organized, it's for the time schedule, and do it better next year, but I think it's just,
Well, I think that's it, schedule, I mean, you almost need to start thinking about the budget in January and February.
January, when you start.
the latest, the latest.
Absolutely. But if you don't, if you're not doing plan versus actual, you're waiting for the year to end before you even know what you did.
Or they're gonna get.
So that, again, for 2 years now, we've been recommending, this body's been recommending plan versus actual, and for 2 years, it's not happening. For whatever the reason is, that's what they want to do. That's why you can't plan it. That's why no one seems to know what's going on. We know how to do it, we're just not doing it.
And the other thing is, Javier was waiting for the audit.
Yeah, I heard it's messed up too.
I don't know what happened to the audit, but you don't need to wait for the audit to have what actual was.
I don't.
No,
Because you've already spent it, it's in your QuickBooks, it's there.
just print it out from the QuickBooks. And I don't know what happened to the audit, but, previously the audits didn't find any major issue. And, numbers may have been off by a few dollars, nothing that would be significant. So you have the actual versus, what the budget was, the actual from previous year. Then you can, January, you would have the year to date up through December, the first 6 months. You'd have then the projected for the rest of the year. Then you sit down and start a budget, getting input from the 3-year list. So, I mean, I would have no problem saying we recommend it to start at least in January.
Well, I think they did try to, but just got everything got pushed down the road and their fault. Because they had these special appropriations, we had to vote on it. Haven't even voted on it, we're gonna vote on them this month. Special appropriations for the park, now makes for the nonprofits. They've never voted on it.
It's town council.
So was some of that with, Can you tell clerk as far as some of the documentation on the budgeting going from Javier to?
Might have been, there's some bit of this. I don't know exactly what, she seems to be on top of it.
Yeah.
She's, you know, got, because we weren't getting paid for a lot of businesses and things like that. We were getting money from the county, and so it was a mess. It didn't have a cash flow like that. I think it's better now. I don't know, but it was a problem. But,
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but it's planned versus actual, I think she's working on that. Is she working on that?
We had a meeting about it. I don't know if anything's changed. So far, the reports haven't changed. But we did have a meeting on it.
Was there anything else? You had made a comment about somebody had asked about what the value was of the property in Buckingham.
Yeah, well.
And Javier came back and saying he didn't think that we should do anything about logging it for 2 years. But I think we needs to have some information of what its value.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, when did we do that? Was that a year ago? At least a year ago, right?
yeah,
And it was government services, wasn't it?
No, we didn't really talk.
I know we went over there.
Yeah, we were told to take care of it. Was the council that told us to do it? Because the problem was we took care of it. And then for like 2 meetings in a row, we were there to report on it and we were never allowed to speak. So it just died. But we went and walked the property. We were asked to take a look at what the real estate value could or could not be. Then the second time we walked, because Stephen Meeks was there and he was able to get the forestry guy to come out right away because of his water authority or whatever, was it water and soil or soil and water, whatever. And the guy came out and it was great. And he basically said the stand is healthy, but it needs to be thinned. And if you thinned it, you would have a small income, but then your trees would then grow and you would actually have valuable lumber where right now you really don't, because they're so packed in there, there's so much shade, they're not growing. And so he recommended that, and he said you have to get a forester to put together a plan. He can't do that. At the time, it would cost $600, probably more now, but you need to have someone to put together a plan. So that's why I was a little surprised when someone said, well, you should wait 3 years. It's totally contradictory. We were told by this guy, but also too, I know he hasn't paid anyone, but I know we don't have a plan. But that was if you wanted to timber it, but timbering it wasn't like 15, 20 years off. He said we'd go in and thin it, and then you would have a serious stand.
I'm not sure what was there, because I don't think I was there for.
You weren't there for us,
But I know usually they will clear it, with the newer grown stuff, and it's only 15 to 20 years before they harvest it, because they don't grow, the big stuff doesn't, the numbers don't change, cutting it sooner than. And
well, that's what he was saying was that you can do that. And because it's shaded, the trees stay small. Thus you don't get the value. you could. He said what you would do is if, unless you desperately want a quick bang, and it's not a big bang, if you want a quick bang, then yeah, you clear cut it. The recommendation was to thin it. So you basically take rows out, which you were saying then would, if you wanted to, we would create hiking trails or whatever.
On the trees mostly pine, or they?
They're all planted.
They're all pine.
It's been planted, so it was clear cut and it was planted.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it really is for pine. But then you're saying you thin it, so you just cut out rows so that sunlight can get in.
Yeah.
And now your timber grows, and you actually have valuable timber where before you, I don't know, if it's pulp or what they do with it. You know, I'm not pretending to be a forest guy, but I'm just telling you what he said. But he also said we need to get someone, hire them to put together a plan and put together numbers so that you know what you have. So for me to hear someone saying, well, just cut it in 3 years, I don't understand that. And that certainly wasn't what was recommended to Stephen and I when we were there. Tried to talk to council about it, but we were never called to speak, and it just died along with, you know, it just got passed on.
So I will make a note about previously a forester suggested needed a plan, and they're probably needed thinning to get more valuable trees in the future.
Yeah, the plan was to thin it first
Yeah.
and thin it immediately, thin it first and then you would get a much more valuable thing that you need to have a plan. And just having someone say cut it in 2 years is not.
So, how much property do this in town?
Is it 28 acres?
something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, now remember, some of it is, so you're not temporary, you've got setbacks, and unfortunately you have the landfill. You know, and that was the other thing when we looked at the landfill.
Right, it's about.
Stuff, yeah. And it's a surface stuff. So it's, if you opened it to the public, it would absolutely be a liability. There's broken glass everywhere, there's mangled, rusty steel in cars and different things and coolers and all sorts of shit.
Well, maybe water, it has this material in there too.
Possible, I don't want to go down that road. But it's possible. The point is like, you know, flood debris was brought over there. Yes, definitely, the town trash was there. Whatever's in the trash is in there. I don't think they were taking, you know, creosote and dumping it in the ground. I don't think it's something like that. And the part
It
is
could
it's
have been oil from cars and.
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't know if there's really that much cars, like there's cars there, but like I said, look like more flood debris, you know?
Well, I didn't know, I was gonna say, you know, you get trash in town, it's people throw in paint, will throw in oil, they will throw in.
Absolutely,
Extra pesticides they have, or herbicides,
absolutely.
all that stuff gets thrown in there.
But the point is, the town owns it, as long as the town owns it, it's fine. The minute you try to sell it or disturb it, you can get into trouble.
Yeah,
And if you wanted to open up that property for activities, you would be probably forced by our insurance companies to fence that area off and secure it. Which is a big
what
expense.
exactly is
It's off the White Rock. So it's not far, it's just right on the other side.
That's thing, that's kind of thing.
Yeah, it's right around Spanish, yeah. But it's right there. You know. But, you know, people were talking about hunt clubs, people were talking about parks. All this is big investment and that I don't see how to make the money from the town. But timber was something you could do if you wanted to, but thinning would be the thing to do.
you gotta battle somebody that knows how to manage it. Come on, plan.
But just
For that,
yeah, but it's,
they're down the road.
you can get somebody who working with the farms, they might be somebody that maybe finds those.
And what it costs the town.
At the time, it was sold 600, probably more. Because that was a while ago. But just say, you know, under $1,000, you would have a plan for the next 20 years.
And that's probably the value that you got. I don't think that we're not taxed because probably,
We're not.
I don't think it's taxed. I think that, you know, it's not a revenue thing, but it was something that could be
It's
something.
not taxed at all.
No,
No tax property.
well, it's the town.
Yeah.
It's the town.
So
But it's bucket, it's a bucket.
Doesn't matter, town owns it.
town owns it, town,
Just like our property, and if we had property in Fluvanna, it would be exempt.
And all the property here, but it's not taxed. We pay taxes on this stuff.
Well, we don't pay taxes, but a very large part of our town is taxed.
Yeah.
Once you get into the churches, once you get into the old schools, you know, once you get into all the parks, these are all tax exempt. Humboldt County owns it, it's tax exempt. But I'm just saying, you know, there's actually a big chunk of our very small town that's tax exempt.
you know, I don't know about the school with the apartments in there. I know the county owns it, but I don't know if that. Because it's being rented out. and it's-
We've asked for that number, we just haven't got it. So, yeah, we've asked the staff to find out what exactly what is taxable, what isn't. We've asked them for it, because we're not
Cause
getting.
I know, you're right, the churches are not taxed.
And they own big chunks of land. They got a lot of churches.
It's 5 times, 5 years.
The town council's not taxed.
Did you say the fire department's not taxed?
Yes, yeah. But and I would agree, the part that's the quote community center with the Boys and Girls Club, and if other people use that wouldn't be taxed. Now, the thing is, the apartments may or may not, I don't know.
But they're owned by people.
Yeah, that's all.
Houses.
That's L1.
So I would doubt very much their tax, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that actually is,
The school, I mean, the library,
that's,
that's another chunk of property.
I mean, that actually is a sneaking question if you're gonna go to property tax.
Well,
we were-
we talked about it. They were very accurate. Fairly accurate.
Well, no, that was another when he was asked, George was the one who brought it up too, and he said, well, we'd have to take that out, so no, he didn't do that. And again, the question was, why was one estimate 30, one estimate 90? There are estimates, you don't know the numbers, right? This is what we keep saying, we keep saying,
Still haven't
the
gotten,
county can give it to us if you just ask.
we haven't gotten numbers, at least,
We haven't asked.
Happier said he's asked and he's not gotten numbers.
I'd like to see the emails, and not that I don't trust them, that's not the point. If you ask for a very specific thing from them in an email, I guarantee they'll respond to it. It's whether you call up and just say, hey, can you give us all the tax numbers? That doesn't mean it,
Because,
right?
because he asked, I mean, I don't know. All I know is that we've asked to exactly what was the value, assessed value of taxable property within the town limit. That's what you really want.
Well,
The
we get
value.
our county.
Value or how much money they get.
No,
You
the
say
assess-
right.
You know, the assessable, the value of that's been assessed of taxable property.
But then the question was, this building has a value, it's just tax exempt.
That's why I said taxable.
Oh, taxable.
Right, but this is what I'm saying, you know, they'll say, well, go to CRS, and that's all your stuff. Well, it doesn't tell you what it is or is not, and it's not telling you what they're doing. So they know exactly what they collected, they know exactly what came from the residents, they know exactly what came from, commercial.
Yes.
We haven't gotten to that. But my point is that that's the fact that they're just refusing to do it, then we need to get our county supervisor to do something about that. Because again, is it one of those things where we don't have an MOA with them, so they say our jurisdiction stops? I don't know, right? But we went into that room with zoning, and at first it was, there's a wall right there. There's nothing we can, once we can't, you know, we lose our magic powers once we step into Scottsville. And that slowly went away once we started talking about what we can and can't do together. And I'm sure it's very possible it's the same thing. We don't need another MOA. I don't know. But that information is there. They
It's
have it.
a MOA.
And whatever, I get the letters. So,
I understand.
mutual, what, understanding of operations or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you,
Well, Yeah, see, when we looked at the development area, there was a problem because they gotta do some sewage. And they don't own all that land, so they gotta, get an easement. I forget, there's a lot of issues there that we don't have an engineer in town, so they were saying, we could use an engineer there.
anyway. But we should get the county supervisor on, if they're saying, if there's a reason they can't give us that information, then we should be saying, we can't give you that information because we don't have jurisdiction. It shouldn't be that we're just not kidding. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
But also too, just not getting it because I asked, and it's been 2 months and I haven't followed up.
Is that a lot of work for them to do that, to figure out what, think?
It probably takes somebody maybe a half hour
Yeah,
at most, really, because they
have everything.
have it
It's
all.
all on computers. It's not like they're going through cards.
I know, but they
And
have,
heading them up.
because this is, Scottsville, this is,
They know exactly what the town.
They know exactly where it is.
Yep.
They know exactly where you can easily pull up
yeah.
the map and say, these are the properties.
Yeah, the thing is, you get some, not work with county too, you can't just ask, you gotta ask several, 5, 6 times, sometimes, say, hey, good, and finally do it.
I know Javier said that when he asked before, they said that they were busy sending out the tax bills.
Yeah,
Well, that's now,
that's how it,
But that's what I'm saying. If I asked 2 months ago and I haven't followed up,
yeah, you gotta,
that's
follow.
not being told no.
You gotta keep following up.
okay, anything else?
Going back, just one thing that I brought in the capital budget, which I like to call it the CIP.
Yeah,
They call it
capital improvement program.
program, capital improvement program.
CIP, those stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I call it capital improvement plan.
Okay. Okay.
Program.
No, CIP.
Not that it makes a difference, but I do like the program versus the plan.
Yeah.
It seems to it's dramatic. I know it's late, but I was like, it's just, you need to have a program.
So it'd be good to, I don't know, did we ever look at that? We have to hear a little bit.
We had looked at it here a while back.
We looked at it a couple times, in fact, you presented it on the.
Yeah,
But,
but,
it'd be good to really kind of.
the town, I said that I would be willing to say, go over it with the town council, when you're talking about the budget. And said that, you're, just let me know when they wanted to put it on, and it was never put on.
Yeah.
As far as I know, they talked about the budget, they never went over that, even though.
I mentioned it too.
And
And
then-
the town council's never had an opportunity to do that.
It would be great if members of the town council actually read through a few of those chapters.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you. Yeah, so.
208 pages, Dave. Wow.
I only read one chapter.
Yeah, a lot of it is like fly was.
It glanced through the one chapter, but some of those don't have those, some of them is like, it's on school administration, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't,
Yeah, yeah, it does.
yep,
This is, I'm not sure if it's a budget, but I think it'd be good. If there's some, I think somebody mentioned that there's a training for either the administrator or the bookkeeper to really learn about, let's say, kind of actual for him, their town administrator to learn about budgeting and about zoning administration. I mean, zoning administration is a concern of mine too, and I think there should be some classes they could take about how to oversee, zoning of, the signs,
I'm sure there's
but I don't
somebody,
know what's the budget should be, because I think they.
There
You
is-
had that training. Should have
there
that
is-
training and stuff.
there is a small amount of money in the budget for training, yes.
Well, every new elected official has to go
Yeah, I could.
to that class, and I know there's money set aside specifically for that. And I know, like, when Eileen was saying, when I took those classes, I got reimbursed and the town paid for it. She's talking about that you're the new legislative elected official class that's required by law.
Yeah.
That's what the money was in. There was never money for town council members to go into workshops.
Right.
No, but there is,
Well, I could
there's
get
a little
you.
bit of money in there for Evian to go
Yeah,
to those type of stuff.
yeah, I would only caution whatever classes,
Not a lot of money, but there's a little bit.
for whatever classes, does it actually pertain to our situation? Or is it a classroom example of a city like New York? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it needs to be in our perspective, or it's.
Good luck on that exercise. If they go, yeah, people, I know that it goes beyond.
And it would not surprise me that some institution has an online, something that you can probably do online.
Yeah, but I'm gonna propose that he, let's see if we could get him, in some training, because I think. Like I said, I think he should be in charge of a lot more in charge of budget. And organizing that, and instead of kind of like, it's up to the town
He
council.
is in charge of it.
I know, but I mean, the
So
town,
then I got to it.
but the town council was, it was not right, the town council was all over the place. Let's do this, let's do that, let's add this, let's take away this.
But that has nothing to do with Javier, that has to do with council.
Well, I think he's.
No, council,
Needs leadership.
council, and so does council.
Yeah.
Council had, and I'm not picking on council, but I've watched them in frustration for the last year. They're not getting anything done, except kicking it down to the next. meeting.
That. I agree
Just
with
like something silly, like how do we handle someone resigning?
that. No,
We still don't have that taken care of, that's council.
somebody resigned the other day, we haven't figured it out.
But there's no procedure, but whatever.
She resigned. Who? Not resigned, but.
But my point
asked,
is-
I said, did you put it right?
But my point, Bill, is that that's your council.
Yeah.
Right? And that's council duty. That has nothing to do with what Javier presented or not. Now, could it be presented earlier, all that kind of stuff? Could we have actual numbers, all that kind of? Yeah, that all needs to be done. but really the delay, it has to do with council just not being able to make decisions.
Yeah, we do that. That's for all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just-
There's not a motion on the floor. You guys will talk for 3 hours. I mean, on one meeting, you covered 17 topics and not a single vote, so nothing was decided.
I mean, my personal bias is you have a work council section and then you have a town council
It's
meeting,
ridiculous.
which is ridiculous. You need one meeting, go through the topics and make a decision and do a vote.
Exactly. Because when you guys are hot and heavy talking about it, you can't vote. And then when it comes to the meeting, you have a 30-minute freeze over because we already discussed it. And then you have council members or the mayor saying, we made a decision, but we didn't, because nothing was voted on.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of confusions about it, right? That.
Yeah.
But that's council. That has nothing to do with staff, in my opinion. Right? Staff has their own issues, right? And we're all running it together, unfortunately. But that's council. They're just not getting things done.
Yeah.
They're not. It's
Well,
whatever
I
reason
think it's a work
next month.
session. So it's good to be able to hash out things in a work session. If you do that at town council, you're gonna lose anybody who shows up there.
But, okay. Besides me for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
How many people really show up to council?
That's true. That's true.
Right? And if they want to show up, they're more than welcome. But that has nothing to do with the decision-making process. All the workshop is when you guys are actually talking about it, you can't make a decision. It's a plan to fail.
Yeah.
And then the next week, everyone forgets about it, or they
Yeah.
make it onto the agenda, or you have to fight with the mayor saying, hey, we discussed that at the workshop, why isn't it on the agenda? He just, oh, why are we doing this? The agenda's already set. One meeting, one decision, and in my opinion, but the council has to decide that.
Well, it'd be a longer meeting, that's for sure.
So what?
So,
We have 2 meetings.
Yeah.
It's longer now anyway. And then you wanna have auxiliary meetings, and you wanna have meetings 3 days
Yeah.
later, and you wonder why people can't show up, because you can reschedule themselves in 3 days. And I don't know.
I mean, to me, I'd rather have one long meeting and get it done than 2 meetings.
Yeah.
And,
There's also no reason for a meeting to start at 7 o'clock at night.
no,
Well,
There is no,
Yeah.
your staff
your
is kicking off at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make them stay here until 7 just to start
I
the
brought
meeting
that up.
and go to 9 or 10.
I mean, you
It's a plan to fail. It's ridiculous.
you couldn't have your meeting, I don't know who's working, what time to get back to town. But there's no reason you couldn't start at 5 or 5:30.
5 o'clock.
Well, I proposed that, but it was voted down.
But this is-
That's,
But this is my point. This is council sticking themselves, driving themselves into the mud.
no, there's some people who can't get there, so they get off work at 5 and they don't show, so they can't get there. It's hard to get there at 6.
Well, maybe they have to see another councilman, right? I mean, you take the job and make the commitment.
I mean, my personal bias is there's a number of long-term strategic viewpoints that the council has never brought up, as far as I know.
I miss it. What about long-term?
Long-term strategic picture what the town, you want the town to be in a few years.
Oh, they're still debating that right now.
Yeah.
With the comprehensive plan, which,
Well, I'm thinking about this, you, annex any other property. Do you talk to Fubana and Albemarle about making it all the whole town part of Albemarle? There's ways of doing that.
you have to have mutual agreement from both the town and the town.
But you have to start a discussion about that.
Okay, you want to start it, you go right ahead. My point is, Albemarle County wants us to go away. They would love for Scottsville to go away. They want Scottsville to be part of the county. I don't think they want Scottsville to expand into their county.
Well, Scottsville doesn't take, there's very little revenue that, Scottsville, if Scottsville wasn't here, there's very little revenue, additional revenue that would go to the county.
I understand that, but then they would have control. Just like what we're doing with the volunteer fire department versus the Albemarle County.
Yeah,
Just like what we're doing with the volunteer rescue versus the counties. you know, this is systematic, and people say, okay, well, think about rescue. Not only was there a lawsuit over the $500,000 that was raised by people for the volunteers, there was also equipment, building, and everything else. And that all was confiscated right away. It wasn't like, hey, you guys don't have anything, we're just gonna come down into your area. That was, we want that truck, we want that car, we want this, right? We want the money in your bank account. And I mean, to a lawsuit. And in the end, the lawsuit was, we get to keep it, but we lost $100,000 fighting.
Did we get to find the
Yeah, I'm not telling you.
So that, down,
No, it's not town, they get to, donate it to, Life Minded or something.
so the
Facility.
this volunteer fire department was able to take that money and then
I believe they could, I don't know.
they could donate it to
But
another,
it's not volunteer fire department, so it's the Alcohol Rescue Squad.
rescue.
Scottsville. So,
And they could donate it to another,
that's my understanding,
nonprofit.
and Ed Payne was here, he could tell you all about it. But I'm just saying, I'm not trying to spread rumors, and I certainly don't want to create, stir it up. I don't know all the details exactly, but Eddie Payne could address that, without a doubt.
You know,
Okay.
kind of pretty, one of the things that brought up, I still want, you guys got to handle it, but the fire department. We thought we were gonna give the fire department some money, and apparently we gave it money in the last couple of years, and they never. What, isn't that a strange thing? We give them $15,000, and the next year we give $15,000, and they never get the money, and they don't use it, they don't need the money, and they don't have it on their books, and it's strange.
Oh, I know.
It's a pass through, they say.
There's, on the budget, there is a pass through,
Right.
I can't remember if it's 10 or 15,000. $15,000 that is on the budget as a budget line, and it's listed there, fire department, and then there's a parenthesis that says pass through.
Right.
And I'm not sure
And
exactly.
they never got it.
I can't tell you, but that's on the budget line, and I don't know where it came from, but it's a pass through.
And what happens when it is not even spent? Does it stay in town, I guess?
The town,
It's strange.
if it's passed through, then it should go into the,
General,
go into the, because it's a pass through, it has to go to the fire department. And the fire department then has it on their budget. And what, if they don't need it, they can then, where would they?
that'll support the fire department.
Mark as well.
So they don't take it, so they don't take it, so it stays in the town. Unless we,
Well, it needs,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, yeah.
it needs to go to the fire department because it's a pass through, it's not.
They're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I think they're that together, I guess. Back that they let go of $30,000, like. Anyway. But anyway, if there's anything on the budget, let us know, and I guess we can talk about that in 2 weeks.
Fortunately, I think the way the budget is, it kind of helps sustain it because you have a deadline.
You don't have enough
You don't have
time
a
to do it. You don't have any choice, you're right, you have July 1st, you have to have the budget. And, any changes you make have to be done right then simultaneously,
Right.
instantaneously.
I don't believe you have any ability.
So you can't say, well, we think about doing this or that, you just have to do it.
And then during the year, you can amend it, you can do all sorts of things, which take time. You can straighten all that out, but right now, your budget is kind of what it is. You got down through the process, whether you like it or not. And you have to approve it.
So the maintenance is getting in the right direction.
Absolutely.
What would be the next thing that we need to find?
As far as maintenance.
So I've never known.
I don't think you can, no, and don't take this wrong, I don't think you can rob. Maintenance, maintenance is a work in progress.
But we got a plan, a program where we're slowly getting.
I would love to be able to see,
Next.
independent, like oversight, to be able to see what, to answer a question like Bill did, to be able to see where we really are on outstanding money, to be able to take a look at it. They're not gonna allow that, but that's been a recommendation, it's recommended by this committee. To be able to have some kind of oversight Now,
Oh, yeah,
well, Matt always was here,
I don't wish they could.
but I think it's an independent, you're looking at it independently. To be able to see whether or not this money is being spent correctly or not. If you're staff, bills come in, you pay it. But the question is, okay, well, why do we have a recycling bucket down there that we're paying this guy to throw it out while we have a dumpster over there? And none of that's going into recycling, it's just going into a dump. So maybe we should get rid of that and just use the dumpster. Now that we have a maintenance man who actually picks everything up.
So,
So it's things like that where you can just look at the numbers and go, that doesn't make sense, or that does make sense. And then the other thing is, are the numbers in the right place?
well, that was my question, is that something that we would have the authorization to look through?
Council would have to,
Through the bills that are going through.
council would have
That's
to,
where
council would have to
Yeah.
create, council would either create a subcommittee, allow us to have a subcommittee, or they would allow us to do it. It could be a separate committee too. I think it should stay in government services personally. I think, one of the few committees that actually has been productive.
Yeah.
I'm not on the back, but
Well,
I think we all,
Yeah.
right? I
Oh,
think
we
we're
got a lot,
all
yeah.
kind of heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I just want to make some progress, and one of the things that, if we're looking at actual, you can't get any more actual than the actual bills that are coming in.
Right.
And if we're not getting information in a method, and I'm not the best on budgeting, I don't be afraid of it, but I can also say, we got a stack of things, and when you go, and I flip through those things every so often, and I was like, ooh, maybe I need to look at this, or maybe I need to not look at that, and that's how I do it. I'm not saying that works, but I'm saying in this situation, maybe we need to go through and just look through them and see what it is.
But the question too, it's like, I don't want to sound bad, but just like Javier doesn't have the time to attend all these. I understand. But a lot of the question is, Javier unfortunately is the source.
Right.
Where if we were accessing it and going through the numbers, we would be presenting a report to Javier. Just like Melanie found that, hey, the number, we weren't getting any income for 3 months. She's the one who found it. No one knew, it just didn't happen. Well, you need someone looking at that stuff. Just like Melanie was the one who found out that the electric bills were a little off. And we fixed it, right? Don't know who canceled the recycling, and I applaud them. We've been talking about it, but it finally got done. Well, that takes care of that. So it's, you know, if you're the only person doing everything, how do you really audit yourself?
Yeah.
And you don't wait until the end of the year to have an audit, because now if you're, and not that there's anything wrong, but if something could be done better, why wait a year to find that out?
the town council, there could be somebody on the town council who's responsible for basically going through the books.
Yeah, I think so. Is that?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with you on that at all. Because we have that before, you could say, well, the mayor reviewed, Matt Lawless,
Vice Mayor.
Matt Lawless reviewed our maintenance guy, and all we got was, everyone's doing a great job. Because one person,
Is the-
you can look at you and I can look at the same numbers and have the same response, or we can have a different response. And that'll open up a conversation. We're trying to solve problems. It's not about pointing fingers. You know, like we get this all the time, like, oh, well, we spent 30,000. Yeah, I'd like to know the truth about that. But it's done. We just gotta make sure it doesn't happen again. Because we understand something happened. It's unacceptable. We just can't do this again. You know, we can go through all that. But we have to find out what the problems are, and if we can't fix it. You can't, you know, you have to know what problems are. And so when you're looking at something, your problem here is just, and I don't mean it bad, and I don't know how years not, the clerk pays the bills, whoever approves them, the mayor signs checks. I don't know if the mayor is going through and auditing everything. I doubt it. I don't believe it's his job, but maybe it is. You need someone to be able to look at things going, well, wait a minute, this is pretty high. You know, like Bill pointed out that the levy is actually listed as a park. Is it? Because if it's a park, it's an Albemarle County park. Eddie was the one looking at numbers when he was doing emergency preparedness, and it turned out there's $40,000 in Albemarle County budget for the pumps. We've never seen a penny of that. Is it because it's an Albemarle County park? all the stuff we've been putting into it, maybe we're not supposed to. Does that have what counts? This is where you need to look at this, and if you're. Hello, yeah, I got a meeting, yeah, you're not gonna get that,
And
just like, you know.
And I can be, when we talk about it, I go into the office, I got a stack of things for me to sign. And I signed 12, 15 checks this morning. Now, I didn't pay attention, but I did look through some credit card things. And I was like, QuickBooks, $2,000. The payroll thing, 500. So I was like, Christie, $2,000 for the QuickBooks thing, $500 for the payroll type of thing. She was like, yeah, she said, that is what it is. And that, but she understood, but nobody does that. And that's where I think what I'm hearing from you guys is as far as actual stuff. That is, you can't get any more actual than flipping through the things. And I'm not, I mean, I'm not trying to pick anybody apart of it. I'm just saying that, you know, we can't get actual. Can't get more actual than flipping through the stuff.
Right, and that's like, you know, and it's, I would like to think it's fixed, but how do you sit there and know what maintenance costs? When the maintenance salary is in one place, then there's a sidewalk thing, which is maintenance, but it's not. Then the maintenance vehicles are in the police department. How do we know what we're spending our money on? It needs to be put together. I get, well, that's the way we've always done it, but you need someone going, no, because this is all the numbers here. You know, we have to fix it. We can't just go, well, that's just the way it was done, and we're not going to change it. It needs to be fixed. And if they're doing things every day, they may not have the ability to fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the ability to help them.
Spot priority.
But I mean, they're priorities paying bills. They're not making sure there's enough income coming in to pay the bill. And that's usually what y'all probably get a call for when they have no money. Or I don't know, but can we maybe focus on trying to, you know, can you take it before town council? So can we do a committee and let's look at the actual.
I mean, I would recommend that government services have a subcommittee which is finance.
And we look at the minutes. See, I don't think it'll apply, but we can try.
I mean, that's my recommendation.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scott?
I can see where you're coming from, you know. I'm just thinking. Well, actually, that's why I was thinking that really the town council is primarily, they're not doing it.
They're not doing it, and it's
They
real,
also don't know much about budgets.
but
This isn't budget, it's really.
It's about oversight.
It's oversight, it's looking at the bills that come through and
Right.
saying.
But it is also budgeting, because where are the numbers, where are they in the right place? We have to change that structure, right? What we found out about the electrical bills, what are we paying? Well, they're all lumped together. We didn't have them broken out. There's a certain electricity that goes to the police department, there's certain electricity that comes here, there's certain electricity that goes to the parks, et cetera, et cetera. None of that being broken out. This is where we need to look at these numbers and go, hey, guys, so it's a big part of it. But also too, when an invoice comes in, is it alarming? Well, we gotta pay it. We spent it. We gotta pay it. The question is, do we ever want to do that again? Right? And the other thing is, do we get caught with our pants down? We didn't know this bill was coming. You know, oh, it turns out the corner of the building that, you know, was falling into the ground and we just ignored it. You know, I think this is all important stuff, you know.
Look what we did with the UNG. I mean, nobody knew about that, so we, but they went, yeah, it's,
I think it's a perfect example. I think T&D is a perfect example of someone on the outside. If we were looking at that, to be honest with you, if that was presented with the numbers instead of just.
Yeah.
Stan has this great idea, let's move forward with it. If it was actually presented with numbers before we move forward, there's no way. There's no way I can imagine council would agree to ever.
You know, the numbers I heard was, they were projecting, there would be a revenue increase.
me too.
Government service committee.
It's a money maker.
It was a moneymaker. That's, he said, well, there was a certain amount of money that we're making in Dillwyn, and we're closing that office. And that we should be able to get a reasonable percentage of that income.
When,
We blew that.
when the numbers actually came to government services, that was after we already had the numbers. When Matt presented it, and I was at the meetings, she canceled. It wasn't, here's this number, we have an opportunity, the building is shutting down, we're gonna be able to move this in, it'll be great for the town, we're getting more people in. There was no, Billings, after 20 years, is only making $30,000, and they don't have paid staff because they're family and they do it themselves, they're always there, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't what was presented. And then at the end of the year, that was the first time at a meeting that was presented by staff that we didn't expect to make money in our first year. That wasn't what was presented when it was pitched. And I know I was there. And the point is, it wasn't presented that way. And as we got it, it was like, well, we're here already. The renovation budgets, way over.
Yeah.
Well, we were always told every month, everything's going well. The renovations are going well. We're right on mark. And then a year later, we said, wow, we're really kind of, but we expected that. We didn't expect to make money. You're telling me you were told we were gonna make money. I'm telling you, after the end of the first year, staff said, well, we never expected to make money. That wasn't what
There's a
was presented to
change.
council. That's what I'm trying to say, where the numbers were analyzed before we jumped on it. And when the numbers were given to government service, it was alarming. We're like, how the hell did you think we were gonna make money on this? How? It made no sense. It was alarming.
And where I'm going with it, much side of this, I'm funding the bills being paid. Okay, I look at it differently
Yeah.
than the government standard. I mean, I had trouble with the Scottsville's, the Scottsville, volunteer rescue squads. It was your mentality, which I understand where it comes from. It was, oh my gosh, we've got this in, CPR dummies. We've got to spend that by the end of the year, or we will not get that amount of money coming from that.
Lose it or lose it.
Use it or lose it type of thing, which I did not understand that concept, but I've learned to understand that's the way that concept works. We don't have to have that type of concept here. I don't think that's what we're talking about, but what I can say is that looking at the actual numbers and seeing what's going out is important should be important for them to look at it in my opinion, because somebody's got to pay it. I mean, but again, it's not coming out of your pocket bill. I guarantee you, if it was coming out of everybody in town council, they'd look at it a little bit closer. And it's not, I'm not asking them to have that opinion, but what I'm saying is if it was, it would be looked at different.
Right. Having a monthly review that is compared to a year-end budget is useless. Useless. And all we know, well, it's half the year, so I guess we look okay. And we ran numbers. You specifically ran numbers at one meeting, said, well, if we take that, and we're halfway through, and divide it by half, we look pretty good. We need to know what was budgeted, what was spent, and what we're actually doing, what we're planning. And we don't have any of those numbers. We talk about it. You don't take $120,000 that comes in October and divide it by 12 and prorate it out over 12 months. You don't do that. We have to know what we have. And what seems to be coming up is we have our low points. And it seems like our town needs to borrow money from ourselves to sustain ourselves to that and then have to pay it back. But if we're not planning on it, the money just disappears into the system. We don't know what happened to our COVID money. We just know it got spent. And we were told by staff over and over again, I didn't track it. I didn't put it in a separate account. I have no idea if that's other money or not. Well, that's just the way it was. If someone was looking at those numbers, we would have known. That's all I'm trying to say. And it's not to, like, I've seen budgets where people will use budgets as a tool to abuse them. Budgets are an essential tool to a business. And it does not mean you're right on every time. That's not what a budget's about. And when the gas prices doubled, like it did in 96, I think it was 92, my budget changed. Overnight, my budget changed. $20 used to fill my truck up, and I had to go to the market in the morning And now $20 only for the half a tank, and I wasn't too sure I was gonna get home from the market. You have to adjust your budget, but you have to know why it's off, you know all this. But we're not getting that with our budget, it's almost like, it's procedural because it's required. And we're kind of going blind, and I think it's terrible, the town. If we had known, and I remember Greg saying about the police department, he was saying like, someone told him, you better get that USDA grant in, because everything's gonna change. Well, I don't know how council and staff and myself didn't know that. Somehow Greg did, but we didn't know it. And one of our best investments is, at that time, was USDA. Where else do you quadruple your money, or triple your money, however you want to look at it? It's like, I can't invest this way. We could have gotten equipment and everything else. Instead, we were holding back, we were just doing this. And now we can't use it at all. You know, we didn't know what was going on.
And I'm not saying we were part of it at all,
Yeah.
right? But what I can say is that I think it's important to know the numbers and just have a basic, like with maintenance, to get back to the basics, figure out what we want, try to get that. Go to the finance stuff, look at it from basic level and build from there and get a good foundation so that you can at least have a general idea more than what we know. Make town council start paying bill, I'll bet you look at those numbers differently.
You're right.
And you really don't, if you really look through, think of the micro. If you take the salaries out, because you know what those are for.
Yeah.
You take the FICA, whatever the tax, that's how. And you then end up with, the rest of it is a lot of line items.
Yeah.
But you take those big items out, there's not a hell of a lot more
I know.
else in there.
Couple hundred thousand.
I get that, but if you don't know what your electrical bill is gonna be every month, you don't know what your insurance is gonna be every month. And does the insurance get paid monthly? I doubt it. I'm sure it gets paid quarterly, half a year or a year, you know, however it is, right? You have to know that stuff. You can't just wait for a bill to come. We were not paying our bills because we didn't have an income, and no one went, why don't we have an income? We were analyzing that. The question would have been, hey, we've got nothing coming in this month. Why not? And we would have looked at it and we would have solved the problem earlier. Instead, we just decided not to pay vendors who did a service for us, and we just didn't pay them. And they're small people too. They can't absorb it,
No.
you know, and that was what we were doing. And that could have been solved if we had someone looking at those numbers.
And in all fairness, you don't feel like I'm throwing you under the bus, but one thing you said at one time when we were looking at hiring for the maintenance person was, oh, we have the money to hire somebody. Yeah. Okay. And now we're trying to, you know, like we wouldn't have that money.
Oh, you mean it for an extra person?
Well, no, even for the person, because I think there was an increase or something in that, and I guess that's some of where I'm like, you know, if we don't have the money, it's hard to. I mean, and I'm not trying, I want people to make, you know, I wish everybody was set to make challenges, but I don't look at it that way. I look at it as that's what they figure what I'm making. We gotta figure out how they are worth it enough to make. To do that, and that's, I'm not here getting from that standpoint, but it's got to come from somewhere, and that's some of it's just a little, it's hard for me to understand. That type of mentality, because we see it on a federal level, they don't have balanced budgets, they operate off their deficits and stuff, so I struggle with how they're allowed to spend money that they don't have. From my standpoint, my little small business, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 S corporations, subject S corporations that all have money coming in and money going out. Money comes in and money going out, money coming in, and you always have to keep track of
Right,
all of that on a level and make sure you have money coming in.
yeah.
The way the bills, and that's a different type of,
Well, that's,
but it's
there's two
Yeah.
separate things. There's cash flow, which you have to have enough money to meet your requirements. And then the budget, which is the total amount you're gonna spend over the year. And the bit with the cash flow is the income in the town is not even throughout the year. The business tax comes in March or April. And so you get nothing in the big chunk there. The bank tax comes in another month. There. The meals tax goes kind of like that, depending on the season. So, the budget, you're right, I mean, the budget cash flow goes like that because you have the business tax comes in here, bank tax comes in here.
Bank tax, and at the end of the year, lump sum.
Right.
Yeah, so they don't come out all the way through. And then you have the meals tax goes like that.
But if you were tracking those actuals, you would be able to plan to know when you have a low.
So
And you would be able to plan when to allocate money from the reserves and then when to put it back.
So you do need to have an idea of what comes in every month.
Absolutely.
So
You need to know what comes in every week.
every day.
Yeah.
But if you.
I'm being serious.
You're being serious, I mean, you have to know,
I mean, so that's why I agree with you, you can't take the budget divided by 12 months.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Because that doesn't cover cash flow when you have no business tax coming in until 1 month,
Right, and then, I mean, you had Javier who had bills and he had no money. What he didn't know was he wasn't getting the money he should be getting. And if he had it broken out the way we were just talking about, he would have been able to see, I get this from the county, I plan to get this from, oh my God, I got nothing, and I got nothing.
And
He would have caught it a lot earlier than 3 months later.
I had no idea that if you look at it, we get sales tax from the county. That's resent to us. Now, I have no idea, do they do it once a year, do they do it every month, do they do it every 6
Again,
months?
question Javier.
No, but those are the type of things that
But I'm saying, what happened was, 1 month we got nothing, the next month we got nothing. And it was Melanie who found out the third month we got nothing, it was Melanie who went, hey, we're not getting anything.
Yeah.
And then we all got it back, and now we pay the bills. But if you were actually tracking it, you would have noticed right away, you weren't getting it because you would have known you didn't. But that's why you have to build the budget, you just don't take the end of the year, Elmore County gave us,
Yes.
$100,000 and I just divided by 4. You just don't do that.
So, no, I was gonna say, there's two different things, the budget and then there's cash flow.
I get it, but your cash flow is part of the budget. Your budget is your expenses, you're 100% right, but you also budget your cash flow, because your cash flow determines what you can spend. They're all part of it.
Well, they're part of it, but I think of it a little bit different, but then,
I get it, we're splitting hairs, but you have to put the two together
yeah,
to be able to see what's going on.
yeah.
It's a little bit more detailed, I think, Stocks than what you're looking at it is. Because I don't think the way that you're looking at it is technically a bad way to look at it. What I'm saying is that we probably should look at it a little bit more detailed. And I think that's probably what you're saying, Dick. I mean, it makes sense, but if it was making sense, I mean, if that was working, then all the inflow in COVID would have been handled differently.
Absolutely, would have been handled.
I mean, I was surprised it didn't go into a separate. Sector.
Very surprised.
That was, well, that's
Every small person I talked to when I was going over the, what do you mean, your code stuff was lumped into your regular budget?
No, that's why. they're-
And I was like, yeah, and they were like, well, this is what we did with like orange and.
Oh, they did that?
Oh, they had special stuff that they did.
Oh,
It was.
But that's income, it's a different source.
It was a different thing. They did different things with theirs versus putting into a regular budget and fluffing our budget up to.
And to me, I would have done that in the beginning, because I would have been concerned that they wanted to track where you were spending it, so I could get it the next time.
Well, the other thing.
That would have been my concern.
The other thing that I was really concerned about is if you start something that you're covering with a grant, I don't care what it is, and that grant, you're not gonna get the grant the next year, are you gonna have to continue paying for it
Absolutely.
out of your regular budget?
But you would not see it with your way of doing the budget. I don't think you'd always pick that up in my opinion.
Well,
Maybe, I mean, if you're looking at it on a year, I mean, I'm thinking if you're looking at individual things and seeing that, let's say, oh, this thing came in as far as we have an electric bill for that particular thing that we got a grant for or something like that. What I'm saying is, some of those things you're like, ooh, that's a thing that we did, but
that suggested that the budget should be separated into the stuff that we get grants for. And that should be separated out from the day-to-day operating budget.
Yeah, and the tough part was,
That's, if you separate the budget into like 3 separate bits, the day-to-day operating, the grants, and the capital improvement plans. Then you'll be tracking each of those separately. And
so instead of saying, unfortunately with COVID, we had money from the state, money from the government. We just had a big pile.
yeah,
But within that, you could have broken that out, and then you would have known exactly what was paying for what. There's a way, it just needed more detail instead of just this lump sum, and that maybe because that's easier to pass an audit at the end of the year or not, I don't know. And I'm not trying to say it's fishy, I'm just trying to say they didn't add columns and they haven't changed it, just like they haven't changed plan versus action, we've asked for that. They haven't done it, it's work, they haven't done it.
yeah.
You know, but when you get into that kind of income coming in, it would have been very easy to track what paid for what. It would have, we just didn't track it. So question is, what did it get spent on? When I hear, well, we got $150,000 grant for the FEMA map, which still hasn't been finished, and I hope we don't lose that. Was it a grant just for the FEMA map? Or was it, and we've had this, COVID money was a grant? Was it COVID money? I haven't gotten an answer. Did we get a grant specifically to improve the FEMA map, or did we take COVID money to do the FEMA map because we were gonna help the restaurants project? Don't know. And I haven't gotten an answer.
a lot of these things are not, we gotta get a base level of where we are.
I get that.
going forward.
But my point is, if we got a, let's just say it's not, but let me call it like a USDA grant. If we have a grant somehow with this FEMA map, there might be a deadline on where if we don't complete it by a certain time,
You don't get it.
we lose it all, and now we gotta spend $150,000 out of our pocket and not be reimbursed for it. I don't know the answer to that. What I'm saying is that would be easily tracked if that was all built in. And as you said, what grant money was spent on for what? And that's our problem. Grants, a lot of times we have to spend the money and then we get reimbursed. Is that what's going on with the FEMA map? We don't know. We just know we don't have a FEMA map, and we also know that we still have to do a test on the dike and on the dam and
Yeah, but who knows that? That's not.
staff with them.
But, well, that's the part where I'm going. It's not that, you know, that's where.
But that's where we should be. We might be able to clarify that. But
All right. We're gonna be here for fun. That makes sense, huh? I don't know, that's-
Going back to
We went back up. Huh? I can't do more, I don't, yeah, but I mean, I mean, more people are going to be done. Weeks. Yeah. I'll be here.
That's the way it is. Thank you, guys.
Be here once. My daughter's gonna be down in our beach. You know, we on it, and the daughter said, this is probably going down. And the daughter says that, and the other daughter says it, the other daughter says it.
Yeah.
So.
So they all saw.
Don't worry.
It's off,